Good morning and welcome to the May 9th, 2019 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda, there are speaker request forms to the left of the dais. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the secretary. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. Public hearing on item number 1, the approval of the April 25th Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, is hereby open. All right, Karen made the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
And Rachel seconded that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, discussion items. Vicki?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At your last meeting, you reviewed a variance 19 VA 001, which was to reduce setbacks and to increase lot coverage for an existing residence at 923 West Boulevard. There was lengthy discussion amongst all of you. There were 8 members present, and it appeared that the consensus was everyone was in support of granting the setback variances because the renovations actually improved the condition. She was removing a porch and a patio and coming back with a smaller porch and patio, but they continued to encroach into the required setbacks. And then the lot size coverage, it still expanded that from what was allowed by ordinance. The motion was to approve with a 5-3 vote. 3 of you appeared to vote no because you were in support of also granting the lot coverage. That was not a 2/3 vote, so the motion failed in its entirety. So we have contacted the property owner, and she will be resubmitting that application. And it's just a reminder that from time to time, if we can kind of pay attention, all of us together as a team, when we see that there is support for some and concern with other elements of the request, that maybe we break down the actions on them so that they don't have to come back to you for that application. And staff should take the lead on that, and we will try to do a better job in the future, and we will also remind you at the end of your motions if they actually pass or fail. And just as a reminder, Zoning Board of Adjustment requires a 2/3 vote. Planning Commission is a majority vote. So with that, we will try to do better in the future. And she is still going to submit for all the same variances. She will be here at when that does come forward and have a conversation with you to explain her reasons why.
Thanks, Vicki. Good reminders there. Any questions for her on this review of the item? If not, that's our last item for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Rachel made the motion, and Kurt seconded that motion. All those in favor of adjourning Zoning Board of Adjustment, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. We will now move to the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for May 9th, 2019. Again, if any audience member wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to the staff along the left wall. And again, if you have forgotten since the last time I asked, please turn off or turn silent your cell phones or other electronic devices. Consent calendar. Items 1 through 6 have been placed on a consent calendar and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the City Council. The City Council will make the final decision with the exception of the following items. Item 2, 19 PD 002, and Item 3, 19 UR 008. The Rapid City Planning Commission's actions on these items are final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items 1 through 6 that staff would like removed? Any items 1 through 6 that any planning commissioner would like removed? And are there any items 1 through 6 that any audience member would like removed for separate consideration? The chair would then entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 6 in accordance with staff's recommendation.
Approve the consent calendar.
All right, Karen made that motion and Mike Gallagher seconded the motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Hearing on item number 7 is now open.
Item number 7 is 19 PD 008, a major amendment to a plan development to allow an accessory structure. This was continued from the April 4th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, but we'll give you a little refresher on where it's located. Park Forest District up in the Skyline Drive Wilderness Park area. And the Parks Department is proposing to construct a 20-foot by 20-foot picnic shelter at an overlook. And again, some of the photos. So this item was continued at the April 4th meeting to this meeting to allow staff to work with the Parks Department and Rapid City Police Department to identify some of the existing security measures in place and propose some new measures. We did meet with Parks Department and Police Department on April 10th and discussed some of the existing measures which are in place, such as a private security company which currently goes around and locks up and opens the parks in the morning and in the evening. And then meeting with the police department, and we do have a representative here today to answer any questions. But they do already have a lot of extra patrols that run up there, a significant amount. And by April 16th, the Parks Department had submitted a security plan identifying what additional measures they'll look at taking, which is additional checks by park staff during the day, video cameras for security lighting, and then potentially the use of a gate or chain across the opening to the parking lot, which would be closed in the evening by the private security company, which is used and opened in the morning. So if the Planning Commission determines that the operations or security plan is appropriate, staff is recommending to approve the major amendment. So we are available for any questions. And again, we have Parks Department and PD here to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thanks, Fletcher. We do have a couple speaker requests, but Mike, do you have a question for staff on this?
Actually, I did walk through there, and I just wanted to have it fully disclosed that I kind of walked through there to see that. That's like a playground for the neighbors up there. It's pretty close. I was surprised how close it was. I didn't realize how close to their house that did go. So I can understand their concerns. But yeah, I did walk through there, and that's just for full disclosure.
Thanks, Mike. Seeing no other questions this time, I'll call Bob Williams or Glenda Williams, or both. And Mr. and Mrs. Williams, we heard from you a lot the last time. If you would try to update us on your thoughts on the new operation and security plan, concentrate on that as far as this item goes, we'd appreciate it. And identify yourself for the record.
Sure, I'm Bob Williams, and I live just down the street from the open air lookout that you want to propose. And I think I'd like to hear more about the security plan, if I could, and possibly I want to thank you for thinking about blocking it off at night. At 10 o'clock, there shouldn't be people there at 2 in the morning. Because once again, the security part. And the videos, I think that's an excellent idea. And let's see, do you have other issues that you wanted to bring up? Oh, I'll let my wife, Glenda.
Lots of times they do drive over the berm. I mean, you can probably put a chain across there, but we know that cars have gone down over from the parking lot down to Skyline, because we saw them pull them out a couple times. So it'll stop most of the people going up there, which I think is a great idea, because after about 9, 10 o'clock, when we happen to be out late, which isn't very often, there's activity up there by the bathroom quite a bit. So no, I think that's a great idea. I think the security camera would help if there is one, if you could check that. Also blocking it off. And then if you're going to do anything with the park, make sure that they can't drive up onto the yard or the yard area. I think right after they put in the new overlook, they did put sod and trees up there, but that kind of encouraged people to go up there with their cars. Now it's all just mud. So I don't know if you're planning to improve that again, but if you do, those rocks worked really well beside the road. It kept the traffic from coming up there. Some people will defeat that by going down farther and going over the curb and then up on the other side of the rocks, and that's where the graffiti happens, on the great big rock that's there. But that helped a great deal to have additional deterrence from cars going up off the curb, to enjoy the view in their car, and then that's kind of where the parties and things started. But I think that you have some good ideas. I'm glad that you worked on this. I really appreciate it, and I'm anxious to hear what the police say, because we see the police a lot. I think they know us by name because we walk every day, and I am anxious to hear what they say about that area, because we see the same cars all the time, and it's easy to pick the cars up. Most of them have their windows down. You can usually smell smoke coming out, and they know us and they wave, and we get off the road because we turn around to see the traffic so that we don't get run over. And we know the same cars are up there, and there seems to be kind of a pattern back and forth from that parking lot. They go down Skyline and then they come back. I don't know what they do after that, but we see them, it's not unusual to see the same car cruise by a couple times and then disappear. So it could be a drug connection or just guessing what they're doing, but they end up in that parking lot. So do appreciate if there could be some more security up there. Thank you.
And just to confirm, you're Glenda Williams from the same location. I forgot to ask.
Yeah. Glenda Williams, 2627 Skyline. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we could call up Jeff and Scott to discuss discuss the new operational and security plan. Vince, do you have a question first? Okay.
Good. Scott Anderson, Parks Division Manager. Yeah, as Fletcher alluded to, we did meet with Officer Becker and the Parks Department and discuss some of the stuff we could do up there. As far as the Parks Department goes, we're pretty much from 7 o'clock to 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday. We do have a weekend crew during the summer too, so we're kind of limited to daytime surveillance, I guess you'd say. We do, with the custodial activities, we do have our crew will clean the restroom first thing in the morning, and we'll probably after lunch, sometime in the early afternoon, they'll be up there again to do some checks too. And we're working with the guys that are cleaning to check the area a little bit better instead of just concentrating on the restroom. They'll, encircle the parking lot, and then if we ended up building the shelter, they'd run out there just to make sure nothing's fishy out there too. And also we do have a crew, a separate crew that does trail maintenance on the trails up there. Not every day, but with that crew we could have them do extra checks up there as needed to, especially on Foreman Street, the Petrified Forest lot. There's a little circle turnaround, and all the way down to Dinosaur Park too. So we do have some people up there and have some of our activity too. So the video camera right now, there is the one on the restroom building shooting out towards the parking lot. When that was installed, it was kind of through the police department Golden West. Right now, we don't have the software on our end to have it working, but we're working on getting that thing going. So hopefully we'll have that up and running here before summer hits. Then if we did do the shelter too, we'll look at extending something down towards that, whether it's along with lighting too, whether they'd be a solar option or if we can get wire that way too. Something to keep an eye on that a little better too. And as we said with the lighting, I know I'd mentioned not to have light pollution up there, so I think, you know, if we can't get power to that, solar might be a decent option if there's just 1 or 2 lights. We can probably keep up on that to keep them working. The after-hours vehicle access too, we'll look at that as far as a gate or a chain or something across there, or bollards or something. Haven't really made a final determination on what would work. With the slope there, a gate might be kind of tough, so I'll look at different options and see what we can do to secure that parking lot in the evening, and that would be by our security company. They go around and lock all our restrooms. They lock the gates like at Canyon Lake Park, Sioux Park, so this would just be another stop on their, they're already stopping there for the restrooms, so it'd just be another activity they'd have to do. So. And then we'd either have them open it up at 5 in the morning, or our crew could open it up when we get there, you know, at 7:30. That's basically it as far as what we had talked about on the Parks Department end. Like I said, you know, we're kind of limited to daytime activity up there, so I know Officer Becker had a big list of calls that they had in that area, so most of it was after hours. So I think with addition of a video camera would probably be something very useful if we're up there.
I had one question. There was a sidewalk referred to last time that kind of, in my recollection of that meeting, just essentially led up to the Williams house. Has that idea been scaled back?
Yeah, that actually is on a different contract. We were going to install that this summer with a concrete letting. We did have a contractor on board to do some concrete work for us, but we had originally kind of going, there's a big, in those pictures, there's a big rock, kind of going around that rock and then having maybe a little observation deck, which, you know, kind of neat in that area, but that does get pretty close to their property. So my thoughts were to stop at about maybe where the shelter would be and not extend it further. So just to keep them further away.
Great. Any other questions for Scott? Karen?
The question that the Williams had asked about jumping over the curb or wherever it's up there to get around, is there a chance you guys could put those big boulders to stop that?
Yeah, we'll look at that. I think there's a guardrail up there on the, you know, paralleling the parking lot, I guess. I'd maybe rather do that instead of rocks, just so they don't roll them down onto the road. And they'd have to be big rocks, obviously, but I think we could do something, yeah, definitely. Either extend that wood guardrail or some big boulders, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we had you come to the meeting, officer. Would you maybe give us a little update on what the PD sees in that area?
My name is Andy Becker. I'm a patrol lieutenant with the Rapid City Police Department. So from the last meeting, I ran some numbers for Skyline Drive for 2018, and then from 2019 for that April 10th meeting that we were involved in. So for 2018, and just know Skyline Drive has been a priority for us for ever since before I was hired, probably. Not that it is that much of problems, but it is a lot of times those, as you guys say, the after hours, people going up there. We have accidents every once in a while up there for folks speeding, things of that nature. So we do pay attention to Skyline Drive. And for 2018, there was a total of 485 calls for service. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But the reason why it is that number is so high is 402 of those are officer-initiated calls. Those are calls that citizens are not calling in. Those are officers basically self-dispatching them. And of those, most of those are going to be your extra patrols. We have them. Now, not all the time that an officer goes up to Skyline Drive, they log the extra patrol. We ask them to. So imagine that number is higher, but not all the time that they do that. So they can either log it as an extra patrol, that's just them going through Skyline Drive, checking out the area, or we have a call called community policing. It's the same sort of thing, or sector policing. And that was 183 times officers called, actually logged it. Another officer-initiated call is, we call it out with vehicle. It's just a code that we use, but basically that is officers making contact with vehicles up there in that area. And that was, there was 155 of those. Most of those are going to be your after hours, after 10 o'clock at the different outlooks, parking lots, things of that nature. So we are making several, and then subject stops, there was 6 of them last year. Those are folks, once again, either up at Dinosaur Park or the outlooks, most of the time after hours. So they are up there quite a bit. And for 2019, again, there's been from January 1st to April 10th, there was 119 total calls for service. 105 of those were officer initiated, with most of those obviously being extra patrols and out with folks going out with vehicles after hours. So obviously we pay attention to that area. We're up there. It's not, I have continuous emails going out there to make sure that they pay attention, especially to our nighttime officers. You know, not everybody that goes up there after hours are going up there to cause problems, but a majority folks are going up there to be away and maybe possibly cause problems. So we want to continue our efforts up there. And our citizen-initiated calls so far this year, or as of April 10th, is 14. Obviously, our citizen ones aren't going to be as high. I know the Williams live up there. There's not a lot of houses for people to call in. You know, so most of our citizens are going to be people that are driving through, see something suspicious, disturbances. A lot of them are destruction of private property calls, but those are going to be your graffiti calls. We do have a problem with graffiti up there, folks tagging rocks in different areas. So obviously we will still continue to up our effort for extra patrols. Obviously we're not always there at the right time to stop crime. We are providing a lot of extra patrols, but obviously that's not going to state that for whatever reason, we've been doing this since I was hired, is doing extra patrols. I remember being a patrol officer as well and doing them. But we're still having the same problem. So it's not deterring everybody, but hopefully we will continue to deter some of the crime and problems that are going on up there.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Vince, do you have a question?
Yes, Lieutenant Becker, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. And thank you for the information that we were looking for. And that's a great rundown of what you've been doing for the last year and a half so far. How many arrests have been made in that area?
Sure. So in 2018, there were 18 total arrest reports and 4 citations issued. So 4 citations, that could be, citations can be issued to somebody if we run into somebody that's intoxicated that's under 21 but over 18. Citations can be issued. Marijuana paraphernalia, if somebody does have a marijuana pipe, a lot of times those folks will be issued a citation as a Class 2 misdemeanor for court. So, and arrest reports, they can be logged as arrest reports and citations issues, things. So for 2018, I guess a total of, about 22 between either arrests or citations. And so far in 2019, that's up to April 10th, there was 1 arrest report and then 1 citation issued for drug paraphernalia.
You mentioned graffiti and tagging. That's a crime, obviously. What, destruction of public property?
Yeah, it's labeled as destruction of private property or public property. It is a crime. A lot of the graffiti, those are hard to solve, and with graffiti, the eradication of it, it's fairly cheap. Normally, it only rises to a lot of times of a Class 2 misdemeanor unless it's pretty egregious. So some of them we can follow up on it, but most of them are pretty tough to put man hours on when it's we're talking a very low crime. So a lot of times it just needs to be removed and hopefully deter folks from doing that.
Okay. And just to clarify, that you consider this, whether or not this project was to continue, you'd still continue the patrols that you're doing?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't see the extra patrols of Skyline Drive ever going away. Like I said, they've been going on every year that I've been on the department, so I don't see it going away. It'd be nice that it could go away if we could just absolutely stop people from going up there, or the ones that want to do graffiti and or drugs or whatever is going on, drinking, things like that. But it's a good view and it's a getaway, and people think it's very secluded. Hopefully the officer presence is deterring some people from going up there. But with one way up, one way down, it is obviously. I remember going up there when they see headlights and they see patrol cars. A lot of times cars get moving at that point, and sometimes don't always have a stop or a reason to stop them. So, like I said, police presence is the main way we're going to hopefully focus and get people to deter from being up there doing bad things.
Thank you, sir.
Mike Kwasnick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andy, I had a question on those arrest rates. Was that just in that spot, or were those all along
That's going to
Skyline?
be the whole Skyline Drive. So, probably hard to see, but I basically took the whole, with our software, ran the whole Skyline Drive.
Okay.
What I can tell you, probably 90-some% or all are going to be on those outlook areas. Anytime there's that, though, the outlook that we're talking about here, the parking lot of Dinosaur Park, anywhere after hours where vehicles are able to park and things of that nature. So I ran it through the whole Skyline Drive. I didn't break down every single arrest, but just knowing how these arrests are made and contacts made, they're all going to be on these outlook areas and these pull-out areas and things of that nature.
Okay, I just wanted to, I thought it was probably all of Skyline, but it's not at just this one location, so.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for all you're doing up there, by the way.
Justin?
Thanks, Lieutenant Becker. Thank you again, as Mike said, for what you guys are doing up there. I want to kind of refocus to the structure, though, because it's great what you guys are doing and trying to help with the crime and stuff, but that's going to be there regardless. Do you, I guess in your opinion, having somebody who's patrolled and you know way more about it than I do, does a structure like this increase activity? Is what's going on and what we're proposing helping you guys out with some surveillance and that kind of thing? Do you see it as is it going to make it a worse problem for you, or is it going to make it a better problem, or is it indifferent?
Sure. I don't think it'll make it a worse problem by any means. Hopefully the extra surveillance would be actually helpful to us. Obviously, anytime you put a new structure in, it maybe causes more attention. My main worry would be the graffiti, that type of deal for folks going in there for whatever reason. When we get new, nice things, some folks like to go and put their mark on it. So obviously, I think blocking it off is a big thing. It also gets a security, if security is able to go and lock those gates up. Once that's going to be an extra check basically at that 10 o'clock period. I think that assists, and obviously anytime we do have something like that, especially for our night shift officers that come on at that time, it's going to be ramping up the extra patrol, especially that area especially at the beginning, to hopefully deter that. And obviously the structure won't be built for folks to use at nighttime. It should be used for the day to highlight that nice view and things of that nature. So I guess I don't have an opinion there. I mean, I guess that's always my concern, is that it'll cause more problems, mainly for the graffiti, and give places folks to go. However, they're going up there no matter what. Hopefully the gate and things like that, for them not to be able to park there. Your concern is they could park down the road and walk. I guess with our extra patrols, we'd be able to see those vehicles a little bit easier. They can't just drive off if they're not in them, type of thing. So, I mean, it will cause our officers probably have to get out, walk around, but we want those folks to be doing that anyway. So, I guess I don't have a good answer for you. I'm probably indifferent. I don't know if it'll help, reduce, make it worse. I guess I don't have an answer for you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for what you're doing.
Any other commissioners have questions or comments on this? I'd look for a motion then on item number 7. Okay, Mike Goller made the motion to approve the application for a major amendment to a plan development overlay to allow an accessory structure per the staff's stipulations underneath the item.
I'll second.
And Karen seconded that motion. Any further discussion on that, Karen?
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that I think this is a project that is benefit to the citizens as a whole, because they'll have the opportunity to use that structure, and I think that's the intent of the whole thing. But I also want to make sure that the Parks Department and the Williams also work together in the future, so make sure that the lighting works, that the bollards or whatever you want to put up there work, and have that continuing conversation that goes on, and I think that's important, and I'm sure you guys will do that, both parties will do that, so with that, I support the motion.
Thanks, Karen. Good comments. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8.
Thank you. Item number 8 is a major amendment to a plan development overlay to construct a playground accessory to a group home. The existing group home is known as Working Against Violence Incorporated, and it serves victims of domestic violence. The subject property is zoned office commercial district and is approximately 0.4 acres in size. The Rapid City Planning Commission previously approved a plan development overlay to allow the group home in 2002. This is an aerial overview of the property, noting its location along Quincy Street and 6th Street. And the proposed playground is going to be located on the north side of the structure adjacent to Quincy Street out here. Future land use for the property identifies it as employment, within which office commercial is an identified district. And on the city's major street plan, both Quincy Street and 6th Street are listed as local streets. So this is the site plan that was submitted with the application, again noting the existing structure. And the proposed play area is going to be located here on the north side of the building. In 2002, exceptions were granted to allow 19 parking spaces, reduced side yard setback on the east side, and then also a variance was granted in 1991 to allow a 10-foot front yard setback. All those exceptions and existing setbacks will be maintained with this proposed development. As part of this application, the applicant is requesting to allow a 7-foot high opaque screening fence in the front yard in lieu of a maximum allowed height of 4 feet. And that screening fence is going to be located here along the north side of the property and screening in that outdoor play area. One of staff's primary concerns with the exception request was whether or not that proposed fence would impact any of the sight triangles existing on the intersection. Public Works staff has indicated that based on the existing sight triangle over here that it would not encroach or impede on that sight triangle with that proposed fence. Those are the existing elevations for the structure. Again, none of that will be changing with this proposed development. It will be located on the north side, and nothing will change on the structure itself. So this is an overview of the actual play area. North is going to be to the left side of the screen. So that outdoor play area is going to include some playground equipment here, some outdoor mulch hard surface, and then quite a bit of landscaping that's going to be replaced. So landscaping will still exceed what's required for the development, and that screening fence is going to be located, I think you can see it right there, and that will be screened for around the majority of the outdoor play area. And that 7-foot height is based on federal recommendations for sensitive clients to provide security and screening for those clients, and therefore staff is in support of the exception request to allow a 7-foot high screening fence in lieu of the maximum height of 4 feet allowed. I was able to visit the site and take a few pictures, just showing the signage posted on the property. This is a view back to the south, again showing where that play area is going to be located here in the foreground. View back to the south, looking along 6th Street. View to the east, again showing where that play area is going to be located to the right of the sidewalk with that fence. View back to the north across the street at the adjacent properties. And then this is a view of the existing fence they have on their backside, and this is pretty much what that proposed fence is going to resemble. I believe this one may be 6 feet in height, so the screening fence on the front yard may be slightly taller than this fence. But again, it has those narrow slats and provides that opaque screening and security for their clients. And with that, staff would recommend to approve the major amendment to a plan development overlay to allow an outdoor play area in conjunction with the existing group home with stipulations as noted in the project report. If you have any questions for staff, we'd be available at this time to answer those. Thank you.
Okay, Vince made the motion to approve item number 8 with the staff's recommendations. Is there a second to that motion? Rachel seconded that motion. I'll be selfish here. I had one question. Is the fence intended to be essentially on the edge of the existing sidewalk running along Quincy Street?
Correct. It's going to be about a foot off of the property line, so it'll be just next to the sidewalk. It shouldn't be right on the sidewalk. There's, I believe it's about a 1.5 foot gap.
Okay. Mike Kwasny?
Just kind of a curious question. Is there a reason chain link was not considered as an option? I guess with it covering up the face of that building, it's nicely done. Looks good down there. Just seems like we're building something around that that's taken away from that area.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Vicki.
So this facility houses women who are sometimes in situations of domestic abuse, and the children that stay there are sometimes need to be separated and protected from other family members. So based on federal law, in order to have those children outside playing on the property, they have to be behind an opaque 7-foot-high fence.
And that makes complete sense to me. It's kind of sad that we have to do that, but I guess that would make a lot of sense. My mother worked there many years ago, and so I understand that problem. So sorry about that we had to do that.
Vince? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Motion on the floor to approve per staff recommendations. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion items or staff items today?
Just one, Mr. Chair. So our last coffee with planners was interrupted because we had a smoke issue in the building, and we all had to go stand out in the cold weather for about 40 minutes. So we rescheduled it to this coming Wednesday, the 15th, at 9 o'clock. If you are able to attend, we would love to see you there, and thank those of you who did attend the last go-round. But we'll pick up where we left off and continue those discussions.
All right. Thanks, Vicki. Anybody on the commission have anything? Look for a motion to adjourn then. Rachel made the motion, and Kurt seconded the motion. I heard him say it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.